You have $600 and nobody knows. Not your mother, not the man who cuts your hair every third Thursday and still asks how the job search is going, not the woman you've been seeing for 8 months who thinks your rent is a stretch some months. Nobody knows, because you never told them, and telling them was never really an option once the number got this large. This is not a story about getting rich. This is a story about what it costs to stay quiet about it. It starts small, the way these things always do. A wire transfer lands in an account you set up specifically, so it wouldn't touch your normal life. You stare at the number for a long time, not because you don't believe it, because you already know somewhere underneath the disbelief that this number changes what you're allowed to say out loud for the rest of your life. You tell yourself this is temporary, this quiet. You'll figure out how to explain it later, once you've had time to sit with it yourself. You keep driving the same car. You keep splitting the check at brunch, doing the mental math like everyone else at the table, even though the math stopped mattering to you weeks ago. Your friend Dana jokes that you've been weirdly generous lately, and you laugh it off, and the laugh costs you something small you don't notice yet. The quiet stops being a choice and starts being a structure. You've built 2 separate versions of your finances now. One your family can see, one they can't, and maintaining both takes actual effort you never budgeted for. You catch yourself rehearsing answers to questions nobody has asked yet. What do you do for work? How'd you afford that? You practice sounding boring on purpose. Boring is the safest thing you can be right now, and you didn't know that until you needed it.
They say it's $2,000.
Don't worry.
Your sister
It's
asks
taken
you
care
for
of.
$2,000 to cover a car repair, and you send $5,000 without telling her, and she thanks you like you stretched yourself to do it. You let her believe that, not because you're cruel, because the alternative is a conversation you're not ready to have, one that changes how every single person in your family looks at you for the rest of your life. You start noticing how much of intimacy is built on people assuming they know your limits. You've just quietly removed yours, and nobody can tell. You buy a house through an LLC with a name that means nothing, in a neighborhood where nobody asks questions because everybody there is hiding something similar. The neighbors are polite in the specific way of people who have also decided silence is a form of safety. You recognize it in them before you recognize it in yourself. You start going to a diner 2 towns over so nobody local sees your card get declined for the wrong reason, or accepted for a reason you can't explain. This is where it stops being manageable in the quiet, comfortable way it used to be. Your accountant is the only person on earth who understands your full financial picture, and you find yourself more honest with him than with anyone who has known you for 20 years. That imbalance sits wrong in your chest at 2 a.m. Sometimes, you built a life where the person who knows you best professionally knows you least personally, and the people who know you personally know almost nothing true. You start testing people without telling them you're testing them. You mention a hypothetical. What would you do if you suddenly had more money than you knew what to do with? And you watch their face very closely while they answer. Most people say the right thing. A few say something that makes your stomach drop a little, a flicker of calculation behind the eyes that wasn't there a second before. You remember those flickers. You don't confront them. You just quietly recalibrate how close you let that person get from here on out. $450 million. Your mother gets sick, and for one terrifying week you consider telling her everything, just so she can stop worrying about the hospital bill in the specific, exhausting way people worry when they think money is scarce. You draft the sentence in your head a dozen times. I have more than enough. Don't worry about the cost. You never say it. Instead, you quietly pay the bill through a channel she'll never trace, and she thanks a payment assistance program that doesn't actually exist. And you let her believe in something kind and untrue because the true version requires an explanation you're still not ready to give. You realize somewhere around here that the secret isn't really about the money anymore. It's about control. As long as nobody knows, nobody can ask you for anything they'd feel entitled to. Nobody can resent you for having it. Nobody can quietly recalculate your friendship the way people did to the man in every story you've ever heard about money changing everything. You thought you were protecting your relationships by staying quiet. You're starting to understand you might just be delaying the exact same reckoning everyone else has already had. You sit with the number on a Tuesday, alone, the way people always seem to sit with the biggest numbers of their life, alone, on ordinary weekdays. in rooms nobody else knows to picture. You think about the version of you that split a $12 pizza 4 ways and meant it. You think about whether that version of you is still in here somewhere, or whether he quietly left the room years ago while you were busy managing the secret, instead of living the life the secret was supposed to protect. Here's what nobody warns you about: $600 million. It doesn't buy you honesty. It buys you the ability to avoid it indefinitely, in every direction, with everyone you love, for as long as you're willing to keep managing 2 separate versions of your own life. The money was never the hard part. The hard part is that somewhere along the way, you stopped being one person and became a performance of one person, running 24 hours a day, in front of every single audience that matters to you. You still haven't told anyone, maybe you never will, but some nights you wonder what it would feel like to just say it out loud once, to one person, and find out whether the version of you they've loved this whole time was ever really the true one at all.